A call to order for the Aspen City Council special meeting of September 6, 2022. Could we have a roll call for attendance, please?
Councillor Doyle.
Here.
Councillor Howenstein. Here. Councillor Mesereau. Present. Councillor Richards. Present. Mayor Tory.
Here. Just so everybody knows, I'm wearing this mask out of extra precaution. I was sick last week, tested negative for COVID, but out of respect to the two people that are closest to me right now,
Thank you.
I'm wearing a mask.
Yes,
If you
yes.
can't understand what I say, please tell me to fix that.
Thank you.
We have two action items. The first one is a review of special event park permit application for Rio Grande Park this next February, 2023. Would somebody like to introduce the item?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I am Nancy Leslie, Director of Special Events, and with me is Sam Leslie, our permit coordinator. So big hearty welcome to Sam, and hopefully in the future you will see more of him. We are here today representing the City of Aspen departments that make up the Special Event Permit Committee. So in attendance are also some members of the committee plus the applicant. So if there are questions that pertain directly to the department or that neither Sam or I can answer, we're certainly, we'd like to call upon them to clarify, and that includes the applicant. Today we're discussing an application from Belly Up Aspen to host an outdoor concert in Rio Grande Park on February 24th and 25th, Friday and Saturday nights. I'd like to give you an overview, and then we can look at the three specific questions that are in front of you, and just kind of to keep them in your mind. The questions are, is the City Council support the rental of Rio Grande Park for 2 nights of ticketed music, moving the free concert from a winter date to a summer date, and waiving the noise ordinance for 2 nights? Let's see. So I want to start by giving you a list of the departments that sit on the Special Events Committee. So while we do have representation here, it's not the entire representation. So it's in alphabetical order. So we have the Aspen Ambulance District, the City Clerk, Community Development, Zoning, Engineering, Environmental Health and Sustainability, Z Green, Finance, Fire, Parking, Parks, Police, Risk Management, Special Events, Streets, and Transportation. So this is a proposal that has actually been in front of the committee twice now. The first one was for a summertime date, and the second one, as we're discussing today, is the winter date. The reason I wanted to bring this up is just to let you know that staff has seen this proposal twice. It's the same proposal, and certainly notwithstanding the complexity that snow adds, it's been the same proposal. So the specifics of the proposal are the timing of it. So again, that Friday and Saturday of February, the 24th and the 25th, looking at a 4 p.m. to a 10 p.m. time frame. The capacity would be about 4,000 people with food and beverage, restrooms, all of that inside the venue. The park staff is pretty comfortable with the dates with ensuring that by late February, the snow foundation will be there. They'll continue to kind of have more conversations with the applicant regarding mitigation on predetermined locations throughout the park, potential flooring maybe in heavy, really high traffic areas, but they're still kind of working through those conversations. That being said, we will be asking, if this is approved, we will be asking the applicant to post a bond for potential turf damage come spring. The total impact to the park, including the load in and the load out, and the concert dates would be 5 to 6 days. The goal would be 5 days, but with weather being, again, that big factor, adding a 6th day to that timeline. So if you can kind of picture snow polo, and why I want to bring that up is because it will be tents on top of scaffolding. So snow polo, Rio Grande Park has a slight kind of a degree to it. So the scaffolding on snow polo is anywhere from kind of 4 feet to 6 feet, depending on where in the park it is. And the applicant is proposing a 5-foot scaffolding. So so kind of in your mind, so you kind of have a visual of how high the scaffolding and tents will look. So That would be, so on the, I'm pretty sure I have my correct, so the north side of the park, which is the far side of the park where the restrooms are, there will be the scaffolding in the tents, and then it will come out into the center of the park for a straight-on view of the stage. The stage will be set up at the east end of the park. They'll be providing restrooms on the west end of the park. So the stage on this, the restrooms on this, tenting and scaffolding on that side. Then along Rio Grande will be the food and beverage tents, potentially slightly off the ground, but not on scaffolding. And then there'll be other kind of various tents for the artist compound and a medical tent. The park will be fenced in with kind of a standard size fencing around the perimeter, which will include the sidewalk between Rio Grande Park and the skateboard park. The entry and exit points will be on each end of the park along Rio Grande Place. There are also kind of planned blowout areas, so where the fencing, in an emergency, the fencing can be completely blown out so that, large numbers of people can safely exit the park. The stage will be slightly bigger than the stage you see at the Core Jam party. So it will also have video screens and a roof to protect the equipment. The exact dimensions, for those of you who are good at visualizing this, it's 72 feet long, it's 40 feet deep, and it's 32 feet high.
Say that again?
It is 72 feet long, it is 40 feet deep, and it is 32 feet high. There will be a street closure on Rio Grande that still allows access to City Hall and the bank parking lot, and it ends prior to the parking garage. The east end of Rio Grande Place, so from parking garage on, will remain open. There will be a dedicated emergency access lane down the middle of the street. And also, if there is a snow cycle, the applicant is aware that the snow plows will need to have access to the street to plow it. This event will be advertised as a no parking, no driving event. Staff and the applicant have reviewed a couple of locations for a drop-off and pickup that should be minimally impactful, and the primary location will be on Main Street, kind of on the east and west sides of the light at Galena Plaza, so kind of think US Bank right there, so that people can easily access, down the stairs and right into Rio Grande Park. The transportation department will be working with them to ensure kind of the proper wayfinding, as well as exploring the potential option of extending the Galena Street shuttle for a few hours on those 2 evenings. The police are working with the applicant and reviewing the security plan to ensure that, like all other large events, the security force is large enough and in the proper locations. They will be utilizing generators for power, and our building department will work closely with fire and parks, to ensure that the safety, the inspections, and the preferred locations. And they'll be following our Z Green guidelines for all food and beverage containers and utensils, as well as looking into a professional service to help with compost, recycle, and trash. Just to give you an idea, kind of some of the things that staff is still discussing with the applicant are, will they need additional parking for large trucks that are outside of the city limits? Their build-out and delivery schedule. What are the accessible routes to platforms and restrooms? Will they have ramps or lifts? The snow removal schedule in the event that we're in a snow cycle. A park grooming schedule and potential addition of kind of using Moby mats, and who are the food vendors. And just so you know, kind of at this point in time, October, November, December, January, February, 5 months out, those are still appropriate questions still to be worked through. So when the application was first submitted, we were coming out of COVID, and it felt that a community component was kind of really something that this community wanted, and we were all kind of looking forward to. And we really carried that philosophy over into the second application. But really, kind of upon reflection, staff feels that perhaps a summer date would be preferable to a community concert a free and open community concert rather than a winter date. So staff has had a brief conversation with the applicant about potentially rounding out the 4th of July festivities with kind of a late afternoon, evening concert, and potentially then utilizing that stage for some other daytime activities and activations. And while this isn't fully a vetted idea, staff would like to have the support to move from a winter to a summer kind of free community component. The weekend is, the proposed dates fit nicely into the calendar. It is a month after X Games. It is after President's Weekend, and it is, although the weekend right before kind of World Cup and all of the festivities, the festival and things that World Cup brings. But it is the weekend before.
Does the World Cup events, is there a planned outdoor concert or community event for World Cup that you know of at this time?
So we had a pre-application meeting with them, and they're getting ready to submit their application, so I certainly can't speak to specifics, but the last time was the World Cup finals. This time is a World Cup race. We did have all of those components in Wagner Park, and I'm going to assume that there's going to be a strong component to each of those. The difference would be those would be free music, not ticketed, as it was for World Cup 2017.
Nancy, you mentioned that there's standard fences. What are standard fences? How tall are they? And that's around the perimeter of the seating? Mm-hmm. And is the seating on snow, or is it standing, or there's a stage this end? Mm-hmm. Next to the river, there's another scaffolding, 5-foot scaffolding with a tent. And what's that for?
So I'm going to answer, but I'm going to ask David to please come up and correct me if I am misspeaking at anything. So there will be VIP sitting, and there will be VIP on the scaffolding and under the tents.
So right where the snow polo VIP seating
Correct,
is.
and then it takes an L shape and comes right back into the park towards that end of the park. So it has a straight on view in addition to a side view of the stage. Yes.
So the L shape, I don't know if it's the vertical or the horizontal leg, that's going to be paralleling Mill Street?
Correct. Yes. So the river and Mill Street. Yes.
I was under the impression this was not going to be a tented, sorry, which one's on? Here we go. Thank you for the mic warning. I got the impression this was not going to be a tented event. That was going to be a tented covered stage, of course, but not, I'm hearing a lot more than I was under the impression of. And are those going to be heated then? Because I was told it's going to be an outdoor event and we wouldn't have to worry about a lot of heaters running from 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 10 o'clock, but it sounds like the VIP area is tented and heated.
Hop up, you got to introduce yourself.
And if you'll just make sure that there's a green light at the base of your microphone.
I believe so, yes.
Thank you.
David Goldberg, Belly Up Aspen, tented but not enclosed. Heating inside there and heating inside of the vendors as well too. So the food and beverage vendors will have heating as well. The whole, much like Jazz Aspen used to be down there, is not in the intent of this. So it won't be an entirely enclosed area. It's only going to be partially covered and not enclosed for the viewing area and for the tents themselves for the food and beverage vendors.
But the VIP area will be heated with propane tanks and the food service areas.
Correct. No mushroom heaters, since that's obviously not something that we want to go down that road as well too.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, of course.
Is there a diagram? Is this drawn out anywhere?
Yeah, that we could see. Yeah, no, the other question I have, and I'm sure you have the answer to this one, Leslie, but with all that we're talking about there, it sounds like a lot to fit 4,000 people in as well. Yeah, between the size of the VIP and the tenting and the stage, is that really capable of safely holding 4,000 people?
So kind of our resident expert on that is the fire marshal.
Okay.
And I would absolutely defer to her. But that is, the number we have spoken about in the past.
Thank you.
Maybe this should be directed towards David. What jumps out at me is the propane heating, and one of our top goals is, top three goals is climate change and global warming. Is there an electric alternative that would be suitable for this application?
You want me to do this again?
No, we know who you are now.
Absolutely. I mean, our intent here is to make sure that everybody from every specific department is comfortable with what our plan is. So if electric is preferred, then that's absolutely a route we will go. There's not anything within this application that we're dead set on. We know what we're experts in and we know what we're not. So we want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with what we're going forward and what we're proposing. So nothing's set in stone. It's all malleable and intended to be commented on and changed as we progress.
Members of council too, this level of detailed planning hasn't occurred yet until we understood if there's conceptual support. But there are limitations to the ability to use the city's utility system to deliver the power needed for the event that's being produced. So I don't want you to think that because there's not gas heaters, that there is not another fossil fuel being used to produce electricity on site in terms of generators to support the event itself, just to add some perspective of the event production issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have more presentation?
That is it, and I was just getting ready to take questions.
I'll start with a couple. Park fees, in our memo, it says that you were considering just 2 days of park fees, but I'm wondering how long is the actual park closed for?
So that is the 5 to 6 days, depending on, there's 6 days penciled out with the goal of doing it in 5, but keeping the 6th day in there and due to kind of, snow events, snow cycles, things like that, things that might slow it down.
And 6 days is the pack in and pack out and the
Correct.
concert, so
Yes.
a total of 6.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I could see that park fee being adjusted from 2 days up for any impacts to the parks when it's closed. Second question, noise ordinance. You say that the concert is going to take place from 4 to 10 p.m. You think you'd be music done at 10 p.m.?
Correct.
It's close to 10 p.m.
Yep.
You
Or
know,
before.
not in the middle of a song,
No,
hopefully.
definitely not. But set list would be appropriately adjusted to make sure that they know how long their sets are supposed to be.
And so the noise ordinance variance that you're talking about tonight is just that volume. It's not duration, it's volume level?
Volume level until 10 p.m., yes.
Okay.
Which is just a 1 hour extension, I think.
Correct.
I have a couple other items just for comment and such, but I'm going to look to other council members for questions at this time.
Just a quick one. I think I know the answer already because it says you want the park for February 24th and 25th. But under the noise ordinance part, it does say exceed the 100 decibel sound level on each of the 3 evenings.
And so that was when we had the community component in there.
Oh,
Old cut and paste.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry about
yeah,
that.
it's mentioned also somewhere else, but yes, it's just 2 nights. Rachel?
Yeah, Nancy, I appreciate the 10 o'clock, and I can live with that. As we know, a lot of people who work early in the morning live in the nearby neighborhoods. Last time, there's a really loud theater concert, I heard from people who work at the post office very early in the morning who live in Independence Place. But what I'm wondering is how do we assure it's not above 100 decibels during the course of the 4 to 10? Who's monitoring that, and what would the chain of command to have it adjusted if it's over 100 decibels leaving the park?
So staff monitors that, and we have a direct line to David, and we say, you're over, you got to turn it down.
Okay, I just wanted to know for the public as well as this board. Okay, and for me, I think that this would be a nice experiment. I think it's interesting, public safety, of course, is important, and all these other items. This is a for-profit endeavor. We know that, and that is why I think Tori is suggesting a little bit of, should the park fee be increased, and I can see moving up a day or so. But we're then kind of trusting on the free community concert will be of a caliber that deserves locking our community out of the park for a week. And, you know, it's something that's kind of happening here in town a little bit, and Michael and the Belly Up, you guys aren't causing it, but of locals feeling there's so many new things in town that they can't go to. They're all being priced for people that they can't go to. So I think it's going to be really important that the free community concert is worth its weight, you know. And the last thing I'd say is I really would rethink not having it on July 4th. July 4th is already so busy. There's so much to do. You're competing with the music festival concert and, you know, all sorts of things. And I would tend to think of a weekend when people don't already have 4 different things to go to, so they actually can attend this and enjoy it. And a weekend that maybe is a little less chaotic and less full of traffic trying to get in and out of town the whole day long and everything like that. But that's just me. I just wanted to throw it out there for your consideration that it does seem to be a pretty hectic time already. Thank you.
Another question before more comments. Can you talk to us a little bit about Rio Grande? Rio Grande will be shut down from Mill Street over to the parking garage, it looks like.
So it would actually, we would still maintain access to the city hall and the bank parking lot, right there. Yes. And then there would be an emergency lane access down the center.
And there's the second opening to the Rio Grande parking garage
Yes.
by the bank.
Is there any fees associated with that?
Well, they have to pay for the parking. They have to rent the parking spaces.
Okay. And then another question, would an event like this, does it require more city personnel and staff on site, whether it be special events, police, or other demands on our city workforce?
Any event, each and every event, absolutely, yes. I mean, anything we permit has a component, a city staff component for certain. This one would be, you know, a little heavier. The Parks Department kind of recoups those fees through, you know, the park use fee. The parking department kind of recoups them through the parking places, things like that. You know, but it's also kind of why we're here too. The police try and mitigate that through ensuring that they feel very comfortable with their safety plan. They do pay for the ambulances and the medics and things like that. But yes, every event that we permit.
And then I'm sure you have on-site security.
Of course.
So do they interface?
Yes. So the police will make sure that they have, you know, direct lines of communication.
Okay,
Probably mainly to David and Michael, but also their head of security, yes.
okay. Other questions or comments?
Is the applicant going to present anything, or is just this from staff?
Just this.
Just this? Okay. Yeah, I have a few questions. First is just around timing. I initially thought this was President's Weekend, but now it's kind of sandwiched between President's Weekend and World Cup, back to back to back?
Yes.
Okay. And then, you know, maybe it's more a question for you, Danny, but sort of I mean, it's great there's a concert, but a concert could present in any number of ways. Do we have some sense of what type of music, what type of vibe, what sort of price point, like who do we expect to come? Can you kind of paint me the picture?
Our intent is to build this out to who's already in Aspen during that week. Obviously, we have a sense of that based off of the shows we do year in and year out during that week and our zip reports, et cetera. Off of that, it's really going to depend on what the cost of the talent is for a price point. That's something that we can't, it's more cart before the horse to be able to actually answer that at this moment. In terms of the genre itself, it'll be multi-genre. Our intent is not to box into one thing, but certainly not going down the road of any type of, you know, massive hip hop event or massive death metal event, though there are different types of things.
Well, I'm out.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bum you there, but you know, we want to make sure that it's something that's conducive with what's actually happening in Aspen and who's in Aspen to begin with, and obviously we have a sense of that based off of what our programming is, and during that time and during the winter as well.
Okay. And then for the community event, TBD, but in the summer, on date, what's sort of the perspective on how that comes together? Again, you know, what type of vibe or acts are you looking for, and will it be strictly music? Is it going to be kind of alcohol and music focused? Will there be other community elements to it? What's your thought process?
Our initial thought was more music focused. That doesn't preclude us from doing anything one way or another. That being said, I think we'd have to work hand in hand in saying this is the demographic, the vibe that we'd like to go after, and then letting us try to procure it from there. That being said as well, I don't want to box us into something because you never know what the act's availability is. So we could say we want X, Y, and Z and find that there's nothing that really makes sense for what the budget is at that time frame, but there is something that's actually very viable in a different genre. So I think it would be a hand-in-hand effort to figure out exactly where we wanted to go, but there's certainly different genres that lend itself more to that than others.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I may have a few others as they jog the mind, but
Yeah, a couple of questions. One was, I didn't get a visual of how tall the fence is, the standard fence. What does that mean?
Standard fences are normally around 6 feet.
Okay.
The blowout fences, obviously, we would be working with the police and fire and Gabe at Aspen Amby as well, too, to figure out what would be the best for this specific scenario. But what we have talked about so far are the standard 6x12 panels for blowout fencing, that is.
In the summer event, it was disappointing to me that we couldn't have one last year because of a conflict with Theater Aspen and the Hearst Theater. And I think we're a long ways in advance of that, and I'd hate to see that happen again. So I'd like to, if it is going to be in the Rio Grande Park, whatever timing is on it, that you could have dibs on the entertainment for that area for that night. I definitely want to find the least impactful carbon option for heating in the whole event. I think those are my remaining questions. I think it is worth an experiment to have some fun. It's time to have some fun. So I am receptive to this.
A few more comments from me. I agree about local ticketing. It'd be wonderful if there was an opportunity for locals early purchase, even a discounted early purchase if that's the case. I know that there's difficulty in identifying 81611 residents and offering that kind of discount, but that would be something that's great. I also would love if there was a charity or a benefit that was associated with this. If you were going to make some kind of donation or funds to a local nonprofit, I think that would be a real benefit to your event. I will tell you, this setup is kind of what I was afraid of. The entire perimeter is lined with buildings, tents, if you will, and the exclusivity of this is really going to be felt. I'm prepared to support this evening. I think it is an experiment. I think that the success and the community's acceptance of this will tell us a lot about future endeavors like this. So I hope you knock it out of the park. I hope it's wonderful, and I hope our community embraces it. But I have my concerns. Other comments?
Yeah, I'm prepared to go forward with this, as our esteemed mayor said, as an experiment to see how it goes. But I'm disappointed that we're talking about another outdoor event that is exclusive, we're heating the great outdoors with propane. We are supplementing the electricity needs with gas-powered or diesel-powered generators. It's just more business as usual, and it's not the way we should be going.
All right. Skibby, follow-up?
yeah. I mean, thanks for kind of painting it. I understand these things build step at a time, and I think of this as an experiment as well and something worth trying. I think when I initially kind of spoke about this, we were talking about President's Week, and the question was, does this contribute to kind of a felt sense of over-tourism or not? And, my general opinion is one event is not another event. It is what we do, how we participate, how we interact that yields the result. And our community needs more of some and less of others. And I have trust in you guys as operators. I hope you're successful from a business standpoint, but I'll be keeping an eye out for the community standpoint. Is this, in the winter, an event, something that we can be proud of, that we want to talk about, that's enjoyable, that isn't just more of more, but is more of something different and something that perhaps we want to curate more. And I am happy to see that there is a community component. I think that's a big deal. You know, if we are going to move forward in the business interest, that's part of our community and should be celebrated as part of our community. I think giving back is a really good thing. And so I'm particularly interested to see what that summer looks like, because this will be a model, if successful, that we can hold other events to as well in terms of delivering for the community. And, you know, on that side, the music is great, and people obviously love music, and that's why we all come to Belly Up. But I hope we can strive for something a bit more, something that really connects community, and it'll be up to you, but whether that includes, you know, art or wellness or movement, or just intentionality of some kind where we can like really come together after COVID, see each other and be part of that. That's what I hope to really see out there. And those are the things that I would be looking to support going forward. So I wish you well, and you got great partners who really care about that stuff as well to work with on staff, and supporters up here if we can be helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With that, Council, I wanted to put forth to you the park fees. My suggestion would actually be for 4 days of fees. That's 1 day prior to the event, 1 day post-event. That would be my request.
I'd support that.
At the end of the day, it's going to impact the ticket price, and I kind of don't know how we're intersecting with that. So, you know, if it's like marginally affordable, could we be pushing that out of locals? If it's already unaffordable, then we want to have the dollars available to give back to the community in the ways that they support things. I don't know.
But remember, this is a way to recoup the cost to pay the staff that's necessary to help run these events.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, Skippy. You're talking about, we're talking about $8,415 a day, $16,830 for 2 days. That means about $33,660 for 4 days.
Yeah. 4,000 people. per
And you're
day,
talking
so
about 4,000 people?
I'm for it. Good math.
I appreciate that.
I'll support you in that, Tori.
Thank you. So we're going to put that back to staff, and that'll be our request of you, is that you cover 4 days of the park fees.
Thank you for that.
And Mr. Mayor, we're keeping track over here of what a motion might include
Okay?
as we're seeing consensus amongst you all. Thank you.
All right, I think that's our discussion here. I don't think there's any other requests at this time. So, do you need a motion on this?
I do believe that a motion would be appropriate. My recommendation would be that the motion would state that you approve the application pursuant to section 14.20.030, subject to reasonable conditions required by the special events coordinator and the city manager, and other departmental approval and payment of fees as required by the municipal code, including park fees for 4 days. And if somebody wishes to simply take that.
Point of order, this has been noticed as a special meeting, so we can take official action.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. And under 14, under section 14.20.030, I believe that approval through a motion would be appropriate.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Can we have a roll call vote?
Counselor Doyle,
Yes.
Counselor Hohenstein,
Yes.
Counselor Mesereau,
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yes.
Mayor Tory.
Yes.
Thank you.
You got a lot of work ahead of you, but have fun.
Yes, we do. I appreciate it. Thank you
Try to
very
have
much.
fun with it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Leslie.
David, just a parting note here. I was in Crested Butte yesterday, and a couple of people I talked to, I said, well, how often do you get over to Aspen? Well, we come over for Belly Up once in a while.
change that once in a while to a lot. Thank you very much. Take care.
Build the gondola.
Thank you, guys. Our next action item tonight is discussion around AIMF and the UN Mountain Partnership meeting that's coming up and the city's involvement. AIMF is coming back to us with a request for more funds as the event is nearing. Sarah, did you want to speak to this at all?
Yes, I'll handle this one just briefly for you, Council. I forwarded you an email from AIMF discussing their request and where their financial gap is at. And I wanted to forward that to you for your consideration and to seek any direction that you may have for me. You may have questions about where resources are at to support such a request. The council does still have funds that can support these type of requests in your own council budget. Certainly up to $25,000 is absorbable in current appropriations. Over that, we would bring you back a fall supplemental if you were to offer support beyond $25,000 in order to make appropriations align to your expectations. The basis of the request is continued to be is that you may have noticed in world currency, the US dollar is really strong right now. Which is detrimental, particularly in some of our third world countries who are travel here for this event, making it much more difficult for us to be an accessible community to participate. And so that is why this request has come forward, is recognizing there's a financial need, particularly for those users. There's been other donors who have provided support or grants that have been pursued, partnerships, for example, with CoA to make Marot units available, all to try to reduce that participant cost. But nevertheless, there still seems to be a barrier that was brought to us, and I felt was important that I share it with you, and you decide how you wish to engage or not engage with it. And with that, I'll leave it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Well, just to clarify for me, Sarah, when you say within the council support budget, is that the contingency funds or just the overall manager's office council budget?
No, so it's the council budget has $20,000 in it for when these things pop up. And typically it's giving for a very specific purpose that we didn't know about in the budget process.
Right.
And the additional $5,000, we have some savings in some of other city council activities that I think will cover that fine.
Okay.
So it's just why after
I was just wondering, because it would be more awkward later to have to do a supplemental to refill the city council budget if anything came up. And I'm a little more used to it, and really doesn't matter. There's money there in one pot or another, and I support this. But, you know, in years past, when the contingency hasn't been all used up, there's been donations to the food bank or other things that come up. So that's all I was wondering, is if we were totally emptying out our contingency for the year, if we did it that way.
Yes, I mean, you certainly could direct me to just appropriate all the funds and bring that forward to you in fall supplemental as well, though. Those are options all on the table. I just wanted you to know what has already been included in your budget for this type of giving.
Thank you.
You know, I'd like to say that the city is also a partner in this event to the tune of $25,000 currently. I believe the original request from AMF was for $50,000. So at the table tonight, I would be willing to support the $25,000 in addition to the $25,000 that we've already.
I'm fully supportive as well. I think this is a great honor that this has been awarded to our community to host. And they've done a great job fundraising separately.
I fully support it as well. I think mountain communities are really on the front lines of teaching people about climate change and making changes, positive changes. So I fully support it.
Thanks.
I think this falls right in line with one of our three top focuses on climate change and carbon and greenhouse gases. I have to say that I'm a bit disappointed that it comes to the city to backfill the budget, and I would really like to see the possibility of the city have a matching amount, and that Pickens County, Basalt, and the other communities up and down the valley contribute as well. it seems like we're being the sole supporters of it, and I would really like to see we've talked about working regionally, and I just think that it's appropriate for the rest of the region to pony up for some of this.
Thanks, Ward. I think that the organizers feel much the same as that they're, this is probably not where they want to be with this, but I think that if we support them with $25,000 tonight for this, I have a couple other ideas of maybe some resources along with what Ward is saying here. So we should continue the conversation later, but as for right now, my suggestion is for the approval by City Council for an additional $25,000.
From general fund with the fall appropriation or contingency?
Contingency for,
20 of it?
yeah.
All 25 of it we will take from the council's budget. If you just make a motion that you direct me to expend 25,000 out of your budget for this purpose, that would be sufficient.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would do that.
Okay, somebody make that motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion this evening? Can we have a roll call vote?
Counselor Doyle,
Yes.
Counselor Howenstein,
Yes.
Counselor Mazzaro,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Yes,
Mayor Tory.
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for doing all the other work, the volunteer work.
3 weeks away.
And closing fast.
Go quick.
I'll reach out to you
Maria,
guys.
take care of that wing.
You know, I wanted to pass it by one date before we do anything else, just to let you know, Sarah and Tori. My husband Paul is going to be having knee surgery on October 18th. And while he thought he was going to be able to have it here, they're not going to have the Stedman Clinic open here yet, so I've got to drive him over to Edwards and drive back from Edwards. So I'm just not sure if I'll be at the 4 o'clock work session on October 18th. Just one, okay.
Thank you for the heads up. We will put you as tentative on our making sure, I mean,
You have
that's
a
a night
quorum.
we only need
It's a work session
session.
night.
It's not, yeah. I just can't remember off the top of my
the
head what's that
17th?
night.
No, the 18th.
No, but you won't need to go over,
No, I'll just
night
drive
of?
over the morning
Okay.
before, as far as I know, yeah.
It takes less time than it does to remove a bunion, I think. Yeah, I think I put note. Oh, they chop your.
Bad bunion.
Yeah, I think I've noticed all of you, but just for the public record, that I will be missing any events between the 12th and 20th of September for representing the city of Aspen for Sister Cities in Bariloche.
Okay, for quorum purposes, we'll know that, okay,
thank you.
great.
Our next item is executive session.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, staff is requesting that council go into executive session. Original item was listed pursuant to CRS Section 246402-4F, personnel, which is the discussion of commencement of the city manager's review. In addition, staff is requesting that council go into the executive session item include pursuant to CRS Section 246402-4A, purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, sale, real personal property. 4B, conferences with their attorney for the local public body for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal question. And 4E, determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiation, and instructing negotiators. This item will involve the discussion of the ACRA Destination Marketed Services Agreement, Special Events Production and Visitor Services Agreement, and the lease agreement with ACRA. Council votes to go into executive session. The executive session will be recorded, and the recording will be maintained by the clerk for a period of not less than 90 days.
I would make a motion to go into executive session per the citations of our city attorney.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Could we have a vote for going into executive session, please?
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Howenstein?
Yes.
Counselor Mesereau?
Yes.
Counselor Richards?
Yes.
Mayor Tory?
Yes.
And I would note that we will convene downstairs in council chambers, and we will come out of executive session down there and adjourn the meeting downstairs.
Electric pass.
I was gonna ask if maybe we could stay up here in a larger room.
Oh, because you feel exposed.
I just,
Yes, we can do that. We just need to take a break to allow
I'd appreciate that.
GrassRoots to shut down.
thanks,
For thinking of us.
thanks.
Yeah.
And I
That is
take
thoughtful.
back what I just said, we'll stay here. GrassRoots will need to shut down, and we'll convene as soon as they shut down.
And then when we return, we will just be adjourning our meeting with no
No
further
action.
business this evening. All right, thank you so much, GrassRoots.
You got me first or second?
That was special.